Excellent. Well, thank you for having us. I'm John Hornaday, EVP here at Barkley, and I've worked with Amanda and the AMC team for a number of years, kind of help oversee that client relationship.
Hi everyone, I'm Reshma Karnik. I'm the Chief Media Officer here at Barkley OKRP. Excited to be here with Amanda and John. Fun story from my side. My kids actually had their first movie-going experience at the AMC theaters, and they're twins and 6.5, and they had stars in their eyes. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your business. My name is Amanda Dennis. I lead digital marketing at AMC Theaters. Media, social media are one pillar of my role, as well as website, mobile app, guest communications, kind of all things digital. Really happy to be here today. Thanks.
Thanks. So we're going to do this as a bit of a little panel discussion, just kind of talking about the history of our relationship a little bit, how AMC has kind of changed the way that they market over the years, and what we do from a performance media standpoint. So I think starting at the top, movie-going is actually very different than it was a decade ago, obviously affected by the pandemic, lots of changes with things like theatrical release windows and changing behaviors, the rise of streaming. So Amanda, maybe you can just start by telling us a little bit about how things have transitioned for the AMC business and the state of things in 2024.
Yeah, great, thanks. I think like many of your businesses, our business really changed during COVID. I think that was a pivotal moment. We were completely shut down for at least 6 months in most of our locations, even longer in some of the bigger markets. And of course, that changed everything. It changed guest behavior, becoming even more comfortable watching movies at home. But I think it also really inspired people to want to get out again and see a movie in the communal experience. Part of that is what led us to the We Make Movies Better strategy with Nicole Kidman. But moviegoing has changed. Now, it used to be when VHS was released, there would be a 6-month window after a theatrical release before it would go to VHS, and then DVD shortened that a little bit. During COVID, we had some titles that went straight to home, and then as soon as we reopened, they would be in theaters, within 17 days they'd be at home, which drastically changes the experience. One thing that we've really found, though, is that people who like content and like movie content like it everywhere, and they really like it at the theater because it's such an experience. As you noticed, they had stars in their eyes. There's a lot to it seeing at a theater. So we've been rebounding, obviously, since COVID. Last year, I think it's on the slide, was a much better year than 2022. But 2024, box office projections are lower, if not on par with 2023. And I think the reason for that is the writer's strike. We had the writer's strike, both strikes actually last year, that shut everything down again for a little while. So just really trying to be innovative as much as we can and try and do everything we can to drive people into our theaters is really important, especially in a time when there's fewer releases in theaters like this year maybe.
Thank you. Yeah, historically, I think the studios do a lot of marketing for the individual films, but actually going back, pre-pandemic to about 2018, AMC was facing some new threats and some types of disruption, right? Including MoviePass, and started to really innovate around developing programs like A-List to kind of bring some kind of membership traits and things like that to the business. So with that is when we kind of started our relationship. Would you talk a little bit about kind of charting that new course to media investment, really focused on ticketing besides just the awareness and blockbuster releases?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point, that for the longest time, movie studios were responsible for really all of the marketing of their title. We absolutely noticed an opportunity to convey the AMC experience and why it's beneficial to come to an AMC out of all of the choices that someone has, the experience, the sites, all of the reasons why it's a premium experience. We had launched our AMC Stubs Insider program, which is our loyalty program, in 2016, and then in 2018 recognized a need for or an opportunity, I would say, for a subscription program. MoviePass had launched prior, as John mentioned, and we had actually been looking at it and modeling it for a long time, giving guests the benefit of seeing 3 movies in a week for one low price a month, and any format and all of that. It's really, truly a great program. But about that same time, recognize the opportunity to market ourselves, not just A-List or Insider or Premier, our loyalty program, but really movie titles and showtimes and theaters near you. And that was the advent then of this online ticketing media campaign that we launched and tested into a lot over the years, to convey and support theatrical releases, but also when and why you want to see it at an AMC theater. We didn't mention this actually, but AMC is the world's largest movie theater exhibitor. We have more than 600 locations across this country, and so chances are there is an AMC near you, and we're trying really hard to reach all of those people to drive them to us.
That's great. Reshma, so share a little bit about Barkley's approach to that kind of performance marketing lens and kind of the historic and then evolving support of kind of testing and learning our way into scale for some of these programs.
Yeah, so I'll double click on everything you said. I think the key foundation of this partnership is based on data, audience insights, and measurement. And I know it sounds cliche to say that, but with the journey that AMC has had and with the adaptation and the agility in which AMC has adapted to changing times in the industry, the way in which Barkley OKRP partners with AMC is through the foundation of these 3 things. And throughout 2018, when we first started doing the A-List campaign and drove subscriptions and attendance, and from that time onwards and having a very, very successful campaign, to 2019, focusing on online ticketing and going through the process of dynamic creatives and personalized, customized creative messaging, to supporting AMC on food and beverage, to Teen Coke, driving younger audiences to the theaters, and then popcorn at home. It's an evolution. It's a journey. It's keeping up with the times, and that's only possible because AMC keeps up with the times, adapts to the changing market, and we are able to partner and support our channel mixes, our media strategies, through constant dialogue, through constant brainstorming sessions on how we can actually target our audiences in a better and unique way to drive more attendance, to drive more incrementality, to drive more loyalty, and get more people into the theaters.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think specifically around audiences, always looking to build off a lot of that first-party data and those insights, which evolve some of our targeting. We also have a pretty unique relationship, right? The different ways that agencies partner with clients and their internal analytics teams really varies across the industry, but we have a pretty close-knit group there that kind of marries some of that media alongside the business measurement. Will you talk a little bit about why that's been such a good fit and how that works?
Yeah, I actually wouldn't call it a partnership. I would call us as one team. I think the fluidity of insights with each team understanding what the KPIs for the brand are and delivering to those KPIs. I actually categorize it into 4. Customization, right? Creating bespoke strategies that would deliver to the KPIs, having that adaptation and agility, and then underpinning all of that with testing and learning. And the market testing and the control testing actually helps deliver measurement. And that measurement helps data and analytics focus on driving new ways and strategies to kind of, drive more attendance. So the partnership piece is one team, the fluidity of insights which help us target better, segment better, reach our audiences better. So it's the mentality of connecting the dots and not functioning in silos. That's what helps.
That's great. Yeah, and Amanda, maybe you can expand on that a little bit. I know as marketers, we are always working to make the case for our budgets, to defend programs, to speak to that. But you all do a lot of work internally on kind of your incrementality, measurement, and methodology, including things like food and beverage and how all those kind of get looped into the plan. Could you share a little bit more about kind of the internal side of things?
Yes, we do actually have a very robust measurement framework for our media campaigns, but also really everything that we're doing to learn into it and then be able to grow and evolve different programs. For many of our media programs specifically, what we're looking at is not just media conversions or media revenue, but incrementality, and that's often really hard to prove without a very close partnership, as was discussed. So, we know in every market what we would expect attendance to be, and then we can layer on, because we did X or Y media program, did we see that grow in addition to what we had expected, and by how much? So then we can completely prove out the value of it, including food and beverage purchases, ticket purchases, the subscriptions that are purchased, if anyone paid online ticketing fees. We know very closely how powerful and revenue driving these programs are because of this extremely robust methodology that's been built over years and over so many different tests to really learn into that. So our methodology has evolved, as have our programs. AMC's been around for more than 100 years, and I think that has always been a foundation of our business. We've been a leader in a lot of ways. The first, multiplex movie theater was an AMC. We brought cup holders to armrests. There's all sorts of different ways that we've innovated, and I think so too have we in this space and learning and evolving in what we're doing from a media perspective.
That's great. Yeah, and using that data and continue to innovate is going to be, extremely important moving forward, right, with cookie deprecation and all of those changes. So, Reshma, maybe you could talk a little bit about how we're relying on some of that first and even third-party data, and I think just broadly why this will continue to be important for marketers as a whole, but specifically AMC.
Yeah, this topic is a passion topic for me. I mean, first-party data is going to be incredibly important, and your guest and analytics team is top class, world class. Just the way in which the guest analytics teams looks at segmentation, looks at first-party data, sophisticated ways in which the first-party data can be segmented and dissected to understand the audience behaviors, moviegoers, their behavioral attributes, the way in which they consume content. I think that helps us from a media perspective to create and develop strategies to target the right audiences, right place, right time, through the right messaging, right? So the combination of first-party data and third-party data coming together to develop media strategies that are robust and strong and deliver the message in the moment to drive more attendance, not just from the loyalists that visit the theaters and to increase the frequency for them going into the theaters, but also finding net new moviegoers, using lookalikes and taking those attributes and behaviors to find more people to go into theaters. That's why the first-party and third-party data piece is incredibly important, and understanding data, especially to your point, John, with cookie deprecation and reliance on data and reliance on collecting data about your own guests is going to be incredibly important moving forward as well. And I think AMC's done a phenomenal job, and the guest analytics team has done a phenomenal job of partnering with Barkley OKRP and the media team to derive those insights, to take those insights, and to use first-party data to segment and target better. Again, not just in terms of increasing the frequency of loyalists, but also to drive net new guests to the theaters.
That's great. So maybe let's build on that, but expand it from beyond just the media realm, right? So, Amanda, I think we've done a lot of work with both conquesting, right? Also suppression of different lists, those types of things. Maybe you can talk a little bit about kind of the digital ecosystem, right? And maybe the role that media plays versus how you leverage a lot of your own channels like CRM, et cetera.
Yeah, we have a ton of data on our AMC Stubs members, more so than our non-members, of course, because we don't know who they are. But we know a lot that can help us make really powerful marketing decisions to target different people in our own channels. And we do a ton of that from email and mobile push notifications, text, and other ways. One way that we really leverage media is to reach our non-member audiences that we can't reach, through email and other channels because we don't have their opt-in or know how to reach them. So that's been really powerful for us, using lookalike audiences a lot, but also suppressing members from being exposed to our media so that we can further drive that incrementality has been really a successful tactic. for us, as well as doing some other suppressions to make sure we're really honing in on the right people to help drive that additional visit or drive movie ticketing. Conquesting as well, I think really looking at, again, people who like movies and who like content, like them lots of places, and especially they like that at AMC. So doing additional targeting that we can reach those people in different ways.
That's great. Yeah, and we talked a little bit about online ticketing, right? How we tier some of those markets, different strategies for different types of movie-going audiences. And one of the things that we've explored historically is also the related creative, right? So we've worked for a number of years with a partner called Flash Talking, who helps do some dynamic creative. So maybe you can just give a little bit of an overview about how we leverage that, the API integration, and how we're really able to kind of provide specific creative to those types of audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. The online ticketing campaign, I know that we see an example here, but it's really a way to convey showtimes and titles at a theater near you in a very targeted fashion. We have a lot of markets that we run this campaign in, and we break down the markets in certain ways that we're not spending all of our money in one spot, but that we're really being able to reach as many people as we can. One key benefit of these units and of Flash Talking specifically is that the ads are created in real time based on a number of factors. Of course, the user's location is a key factor, but then building in everything else from AMC APIs that they integrate with in mere seconds to display an ad to someone who is targeted to see it wherever they may be online, but then conveying your closest theater and what movie may be of interest to you, upcoming showtimes. If the showtime is a discount matinee, it's a lower price. If it's a premium large format, conveying that as well. So they're very powerful units that we couldn't build in any way if we were doing this ourselves. We really need the dynamic nature of it. And a partner like Flash Talking has been to us and Barkley OKRP, of course, to bring it to life.
That's great. We actually have a little bit of time. We wanted to do a little bit of Q&A. So if there are any kind of key questions from the group or anything else, any of us would be happy to address those.
Thank you. We do have some questions. First, how do you see streaming complementing everything happening in the theater? And what are AMC's plans for this as it evolves?
So as I mentioned, people who like content on streaming like content everywhere. I think we've really seen that. We've also seen, as we've had, declines or lack of interest in some streaming providers, and movie studios as well are recognizing that there's a place for movies at theater. I think there's a world in which all of it coexists, and that there's different formats and different titles that people will lean to see in a movie theater setting more so than others. There's some things, that you'll still binge watch at home, some episodic programming. But yeah, I think there's a world in which it all lives together. I think we're in that. Theatrical release windows have really stabilized over time, and I think it's good. Yeah.
On that note, have you noticed shifts in the demographics of the moviegoer audience in recent years?
Yeah, we have actually, and I think movies often resonate with an 18 to 35 male target. We've still seen a lot of that, driven a lot by blockbuster titles like Top Gun and Marvel titles. So those are prevalent, and that has remained. But certainly, moviegoers of all ages. I can't think of a specific way that it's changed beyond having kind of a broader male-dominated base with some of those blockbusters. We also have just so many smaller independent titles that reach very targeted groups of our guests. Someone's favorite movie, is someone else's movie that they'd never want to see. So having that really inclusive programming that's quite diverse and varied helps us reach lots of different audiences in big ways.
I think the movie going still appeals to all very broadly, but we have seen some trends in how people attend movies and how they think about those as event-based, right? So if you think about Barbenheimer this past year or the Minion movies, right, it becomes a real-time social event and an experience in different ways. Yes, and there may be a portion of the population that isn't immediately returning to theaters, but people are really turning out for those titles that are becoming kind of part of the cultural zeitgeist, and they do not want to miss out on. And those are only experiences that people are still able to get through the movie theater. So I think the way that they share and interact is what's changed, probably a little bit more than just the demographic makeup.
The content has changed as well, right? We are seeing a lot of content being developed for younger audiences, kids, etc. So the demographic has changed with the change in content, and movie-going patterns have changed with the change in content as well.
Yeah, we find that movie-going is really habitual, and you probably experience this. If you go see a movie in a theater, you walk in and you remember the smells, and you're like, oh, this is the greatest. And as you're leaving, you remember the trailers that you saw before the movie, and you are making a plan for a future visit. I think that is, definitely extremely prevalent, and once people go, they remember how much they love it and keep returning.
Cliff mentioned in the last session the importance of curating experience. How do you curate and control the experience in this scenario when you don't own the content that people are coming to see?
That's a great question. I will say that what we try to do is offer a premium movie-going experience through our comfortable recliners, through the ability to reserve your seats ahead of time, through our digital platforms. Once we get people in, through dine-in delivery to seat service of restaurant quality food, or even just delivery of your popcorn and Coke and Reese's Pieces for John. So we really try and have a very premium experience that helps people really immerse themselves in the movie. We also lean into merchandise and cultural phenomenons. John had mentioned with like Barbie and Oppenheimer. We brought Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour to theaters this past summer, and the Renaissance Tour as well. So as we're doing that, how can we use these huge physical theater spaces to create, capsules that support that fan and that movie in a big way, to not only make it an experience, but to make it a memory for people who are coming. Movies are memory-making experiences, and really help bring people together also. I think that your kids will probably always remember going to their first movie, and so will you. And our theater physical spaces and all the amenities that we offer are a way to really help solidify that.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, but please find our speakers during the break to ask more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.